Most people think success is something that happens later in the day, after the work begins, after the meetings, after the effort. But the truth is much simpler and much more uncomfortable. Success is usually decided before the day even starts. Long before the world makes its demands on you, long before distractions begin pulling you in every direction, there is a quiet moment where your future is already being shaped. That moment is your morning. The way you wake up, the way you think, the way you move in those first minutes sets a direction that is very hard to change later. Every morning is a vote. You are voting for the kind of life you want, whether you realize it or not. When you wake up late, rush out of bed, grab your phone, and let the world tell you how to feel, you are voting for reaction. You are choosing to live on autopilot. But when you wake up with intention, when you decide before the day decides for you, you are voting for control. And control is the foundation of every form of success. Here's something most people never think about. Your morning is the only part of the day you truly own. Once the day starts, people want your attention, problems want your energy, and responsibilities want your time. But early in the morning, before the noise, before the pressure, you are alone with your thoughts. That space is powerful. That space is where leaders are formed and average lives are quietly accepted. The future does not belong to the most talented person. It does not belong to the smartest person in the room. It belongs to the person who consistently starts their day on purpose. Because when you start on purpose, you don't drift. Drifting is dangerous. Drifting feels comfortable, but it always takes you somewhere you did not plan to go. A strong morning routine is what anchors you. It gives direction to your energy instead of letting it leak into stress, fear, and distraction. Think about this. If your morning is chaotic, your day will be chaotic. If your morning is calm, your day has a chance to be focused. The quality of your morning determines the quality of your decisions, and the quality of your decisions determines the quality of your life. This is not motivation. This is cause and effect. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your routines, especially the first one you practice every day. Many people say they want more discipline, more confidence, more clarity, but confidence is not something you wait for. Confidence is built by keeping promises to yourself, and the first promise of the day is when you wake up. When you wake up when you said you would, when you begin the day the way you planned, something shifts inside you. You start to trust yourself. And when you trust yourself, your actions become stronger, more decisive, more aligned. The morning is not about doing 100 things. It is about doing the right things first. It is about setting the tone. Just like music sets the mood in a room, your morning sets the emotional and mental tone of your entire day. If the first thing you consume is noise, your mind becomes noisy. If the first thing you consume is intention, your mind becomes focused. Your future is not created in one big moment. It is created in small, repeated moments that look insignificant at the time. Waking up early looks small. Being intentional looks boring. But over time, these small acts compound. They create momentum. And momentum is what separates people who dream from people who execute. If you want to change your life, don't start by changing your whole life. Start by changing your morning. Because when you win the morning, you don't have to chase the day. The day starts chasing you. Most people are waiting for motivation to show up before they take action. They say things like, I'll start when I feel ready, or I just need the motivation. But motivation is emotional, and emotions are unreliable. They change based on sleep, mood, weather, and circumstances. If your success depends on how you feel, then your results will always be inconsistent. The truth is, the people who win are not more motivated than everyone else. They are more disciplined. Discipline is the ability to do what needs to be done even when you don't feel like it. And the morning is where discipline is either trained or neglected. When you wake up and do the right thing before you feel like it, you are teaching your mind that it does not run your life. You are reminding yourself that feelings are information, not instructions. This one shift separates leaders from followers. Here's the uncomfortable reality. Motivation follows action, not the other way around. Most people think they need to feel inspired before they move, but the moment you move, your mind starts to catch up. Action creates clarity. Action creates energy. When you wait for motivation, you stay stuck. When you move without it, motivation eventually shows up to support you. Every morning there is a battle between comfort and commitment. Comfort says stay in bed, scroll your phone, delay your responsibility. Commitment says get up, get focused, and do what your future will thank you for. Comfort feels good now. Commitment pays off later. And life always rewards the person who chooses later over now. Discipline in the morning does something powerful. It builds self-respect. When you keep showing up for yourself, even on the days you feel tired or unmotivated, you start to see yourself differently. You stop seeing seeing yourself as someone who tries, and you start seeing yourself as someone who does what they said they would do. That identity shift is priceless. People often say they lack consistency, but consistency is not a personality trait. It's a practiced skill, and skills are built through repetition. When you practice discipline every morning, even in small ways, you are strengthening a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. Eventually, what once felt hard starts to feel normal. Waiting for motivation is easy. Discipline is difficult. But easy choices create a hard life, and hard choices create an easy life. When you choose discipline in the morning, you are choosing freedom later in the day. You are choosing focus over frustration, progress over excuses, and purpose over distraction. The goal is not to feel good every morning. The goal is to be effective. And effectiveness comes from doing the right thing consistently, not from feeling inspired occasionally. When discipline becomes your foundation, motivation becomes a bonus, not a requirement. Most people try to change their habits without ever changing how they see themselves. They wake up and think about what they should do, but they never stop to think about who they are becoming. That's why habits don't last. Behavior that is not connected to identity will always collapse under pressure. The most powerful routines are not built on willpower. They are built on self-image. Your morning routine is a mirror. It reflects how you see yourself. If you see yourself as someone who is always behind, always tired, always reacting, your mornings will match that belief. But if you begin to see yourself as disciplined, focused, and intentional, your actions start to align automatically. You don't force habits when they come from identity. You express them. The reason identity matters so much is because your brain is constantly working to stay consistent with the person you believe you are. If you believe you are not a morning person, your mind will look for proof every day. If you believe you are someone who takes control of their day early, your mind will support that too. Identity always wins over intention. The morning is where identity is rehearsed daily. Every time you get up when you said you would, every time you choose focus over distraction, you are casting a vote for a new version of yourself. You may not feel different immediately, but repetition makes it real. Over time, those votes become evidence, and evidence becomes belief. This is why change feels hard at first. You are not just changing behavior, you are challenging an old identity. The old identity wants to survive. It wants you to go back to what is familiar, even if what is familiar is limiting. But growth always requires discomfort because growth requires becoming someone you've never been before. Stop asking, what do I need to do this morning? And start asking, who do I need to be today? That question changes everything. When your identity is clear, your habits become simple. A disciplined person does disciplined things. A focused person protects their mornings. A purposeful person does not start their day in chaos. Your routine is not about impressing anyone. No one is watching you wake up early. No one is clapping when you choose silence over scrolling, but your subconscious is watching, and it is taking notes. It is learning who you are by what you do consistently. When you align your mornings with the person you want to become, success stops feeling like a struggle. It starts feeling like the natural outcome of who you are. You don't chase discipline, you embody it. And once identity and routine are aligned, your results have no choice but to follow. Your mind is most open at the beginning of the day, whether you use that fact or not. In the morning, your brain is like fresh soil. Whatever you plant in it has the highest chance of growing. This is not about positivity or negativity, it's about programming. Every day your mind is being programmed by something. The only question is whether you are doing the programming or you are letting the world do it for you. The first hour after you wake up sets the emotional rhythm of your entire day. If the first thing you do is check your phone, read messages, scroll social media, or consume bad news, you are telling your mind to be reactive, anxious, and distracted. You may not feel it immediately, but it shows up later in your lack of focus, your short temper, and your inability to think clearly. What you consistently hear in the morning becomes what you believe. Your beliefs shape your decisions, and your decisions shape your results. This is why successful people are extremely intentional about what they allow into their minds early in the day. They guard that time not because they are selfish, but because they understand how valuable it is. Silence in the morning is not empty, it is powerful. In silence, your thoughts slow down. Your mind stops racing and clarity begins to form. When you take even a few moments to reflect, to pray, to write, or to think, you are aligning your inner world before you face the outer one. You are deciding who you will be before circumstances try to decide for you. Your self-talk in the morning matters more than you think. The words you repeat to yourself when you first wake up become instructions to your subconscious. If you start the day telling yourself you're tired, behind, or overwhelmed, your mind will look for ways to prove you right. But if you remind yourself of your purpose, your discipline, and your direction, your mind starts working in your favor. The morning is not about cramming information. It's about setting direction. Even one focused thought is more powerful than hours of scattered thinking. When your mind is clear, your actions are stronger. When your mind is focused, your time becomes more productive. If you don't intentionally program your mind in the morning, it will be programmed by urgency, fear, and distraction. But when you take control of that first hour, you create an internal environment where confidence, clarity, and purpose can grow. And when your mind is aligned, the rest of the day stops feeling like a battle. Most people don't realize that waking up late is not just a time problem, it's a life problem. When you wake up late, you start the day behind. You rush, you react, you move in panic instead of purpose. Even if you don't notice it consciously, your body and mind feel the pressure, and pressure creates poor decisions. A rushed morning puts your nervous system in survival mode. Instead of thinking clearly, you start responding emotionally. Small problems feel big, minor delays feel stressful, and once that stress enters your system early, it quietly follows you all day. You're not less capable, you're just mentally overloaded before the day even begins. When you wake up late, you surrender control. Your schedule controls you. Other people's demands control you. Emergencies replace priorities. You don't choose how to start your day, the day starts you. And a life that is constantly reacting can never be truly successful, no matter how busy it looks. Late mornings also destroy momentum. Momentum is built by early wins, and the first win of the day is starting on time. When you miss that, it becomes easier to miss the next commitment and the next. Procrastination doesn't begin with big decisions. It begins with small delays that feel harmless in the moment. There is also a hidden cost most people ignore: self-trust. Every time you hit snooze, every time you break the promise you made to yourself the night before, you weaken your confidence. Not because waking up early is magical, but because broken promises teach your subconscious that your word doesn't matter. Over time, that belief leaks into every area of life. Waking up late doesn't mean you are lazy, it means you are unprepared. Preparation creates peace. When you prepare your morning, you create space. Space to think, space to breathe, space to decide instead of react. Without that space, life feels heavier than it needs to be. The tragedy is that many people normalize chaotic mornings. They think stress is just part of life. But stress is often the result of poor structure, not hard circumstances. When you fix the structure, especially in the morning, the pressure begins to lift. You don't need a perfect routine. You need an early start that gives you margin. Margin is the difference between surviving the day and leading it. When you wake up with margin, you move with confidence instead of panic. And that one shift changes everything. Success is rarely the result of one big decision. It is the result of many small decisions made consistently over time. Most people overestimate what they can do in a day and underestimate what they can become in a year. The bridge between where you are and where you want to be is consistency, and consistency is born in routine. A morning routine removes randomness from your life. When you start your day the same intentional way, you reduce decision fatigue. You don't waste energy figuring out what to do first. You already know. That clarity frees up mental power for what actually matters, creating value, solving problems, and making progress. Wealth in any form follows patterns. Financial wealth, mental wealth, emotional stability, and influence all grow from predictable actions repeated over time. People who win don't rely on bursts of effort. They rely on systems. And your morning routine is the system that stabilizes everything else. Consistency compounds quietly. You don't feel it working day to day, but over months and years, the gap between someone with structure and someone without it becomes impossible to ignore. One person keeps showing up prepared. The other keeps starting over. One builds momentum. The other burns energy, restarting again and again. A structured morning also protects your focus. When your priorities are set early, distractions have less power over you. You're not chasing every urgent thing that appears because you already decided what matters most. Focus is a form of wealth, and routine is how you protect it. Most people think freedom comes from having no schedule. In reality, freedom comes from having the right schedule. When your mornings are disciplined, your days become flexible. You finish important work faster. You make better decisions. You create options, and options are what real freedom looks like. Routine is not boring. Chaos is boring because it produces the same problems over and over again. Routine creates growth. Growth creates opportunity. Opportunity creates abundance. And abundance is never an accident. It's the byproduct of consistent action aligned with a clear structure. When you commit to a morning routine, you are not just organizing your time, you are building a life that moves forward whether you feel like it or not. And that is how long-term success is created. Before you try to conquer the world, you must first conquer your inner world. Most people jump straight into action without ever checking their alignment. They move fast, but they move in the wrong direction. The morning is your opportunity to slow down long enough to make sure your mind, heart, and purpose are in the same place. Stillness in the morning is not wasted time. It is an investment. In a world that is constantly loud, silence becomes a competitive advantage. When everything is quiet, you can finally hear yourself think. You can recognize what matters and what doesn't. You can separate urgency from importance. Spiritual and mental alignment is about intention. It's about deciding who you will be before you start doing. When you take time to reflect, to pray, to express gratitude, or simply to breathe, you are anchoring yourself. You are reminding your mind that you are guided by purpose, not pressure. Many people feel overwhelmed not because life is too hard, but because their inner world is disorganized. They carry noise, fear, and unfinished thoughts into every situation. Morning alignment clears that clutter. It brings order to your thinking before chaos has a chance to enter. When you align yourself early, you respond instead of react. Problems don't disappear, but they lose their power over your emotions. You stop making decisions from stress and start making them from clarity. That shift alone can change the outcome of an entire day. This alignment also builds humility and confidence at the same time. Humility because you recognize that you are not in control of everything. Confidence because you know you are not alone in carrying the weight. That balance creates peace, and peace creates focus. The most powerful mornings are not always the busiest ones. They are the ones where you connect before you produce. When your inner world is aligned, your actions become cleaner, more effective, and more meaningful. If you skip alignment, you spend the day fixing mistakes that could have been avoided. If you prioritize it, you move with intention and calm. Every great life is built from the inside out, and the morning is where that building begins. Distraction does not announce itself as danger. It shows up as something small, harmless, and familiar. A quick look at your phone, a few minutes of scrolling, a message that can't wait. But in the morning, those small distractions have a massive cost. They steal your focus before you even realize it's gone. When you check your phone first thing in the morning, you are stepping into someone else's priorities. You are letting other people's opinions, problems, and emergencies shape your mental state. Instead of leading your day, you start by following the world's agenda. That habit quietly trains your mind to be reactive instead of intentional. Your attention is your most valuable resource, and the morning is when it is at its strongest. Whatever captures your attention early tends to control it all day. If you give it away to notifications and noise, it becomes harder to concentrate, harder to think deeply, and harder to stay disciplined later. Social media in the morning creates comparison before confidence. You see highlights of other people's lives before you even define your own goals for the day. That comparison can breed insecurity, distraction, or false urgency. None of those help you build the life you want. Eliminating distractions does not mean avoiding the world. It means delaying it. The world can wait while you prepare yourself. When you choose to protect your morning, you are not being selfish. You are being strategic. You are ensuring that when you do engage, you show up as your best self. Discipline is often less about doing more and more about removing what doesn't matter. When you remove distractions in the morning, you create space for clarity, focus, and intentional action. That space allows your mind to operate at a higher level. If you don't set boundaries early, distractions will set them for you, and those boundaries will always favor comfort over progress. But when you decide what gets your attention and when, you reclaim control over your time and energy. The people who achieve extraordinary results are not immune to distraction. They are just intentional about when they allow it in. Protect your mornings and you protect your focus. Protect your focus and you protect your future.